Sometimes the loudest stories in gaming aren't the ones filled with booming dialogue or branching conversations. They're the ones told through music, motion, and silence. Games that whisper instead of shout. Games that trust you to feel without ever telling you what to feel. Today I want to explore the rise of these quiet games. Games with little to no dialogue, and yet they carry some of the most powerful emotional moments I've ever experienced. These are the games that hit you in the chest without ever raising their voice. And maybe, just maybe, that's why they stick with us so deeply. I remember the first time I played Journey. I had no idea what it was about. Just this figure in a red robe standing in the desert with a mountain in the distance. That's all. No HUD, no words, just wind. I didn't even realize it was a multiplayer game at first, but somewhere along the way, another player appeared. They didn't speak. They couldn't, but they walked beside me. They jumped when I jumped. They stayed close when I lagged behind. And it made me feel safe, like I wasn't alone. That final climb up the mountain, brutal. Your character slows down, struggles to move. You think you'll make it, then you collapse. I remember just staring at the screen, feeling like my heart had dropped. But then you rise, reborn, soaring through the air as that music swells. That moment, that transition from despair to freedom, it felt like resurrection, and all of it happened without a single line of dialogue. I never learned the name of the person who walked with me, but I still think about them. There's something deeply moving about companionship without words. In games, we're so used to hearing characters banter, joke, or argue. But when all of that is stripped away, what you're left with is presence. Just someone being there. Some of the most comforting moments in life aren't filled with conversation. They're quiet, sitting beside someone, sharing a walk, feeling seen without needing to explain yourself. Quiet games recreate that in ways that loud, dialogue-heavy games often don't. They teach us that words aren't always the most important part of connection. Gris is a game I picked up because it looked pretty. What I didn't expect was for it to make me cry. You start in grayscale. A girl has lost her voice. She collapses, the world is broken. But as you move forward, color returns. The way each color represents a stage of grief. Red for anger, blue for sadness, green for acceptance. It doesn't explain this to you. It just lets you feel it. Through the way Gris moves, the way she falters, then stands again. The way the music carries you through each storm. There was this moment where the world turns red and you're being chased by a storm, and I remember thinking, this is what rage feels like, that helpless, chaotic thrashing. And later, when the color green returned and I was gently floating through the trees, I felt peace. Like the game had given me space to breathe again. I finished it in one sitting and I sat there afterwards in silence. No game had ever expressed emotional recovery so purely. And again, no one spoke. Not once. Grief is hard to explain. It's not linear. It comes in waves. And most of the time, it doesn't sound like anything at all. That's why games like Gris hit so hard, because they don't try to explain grief to us. They just let us feel it. The loss, the numbness, the quiet rage, the stillness that follows. And what's beautiful is how these games offer healing without ever spelling it out. They show us what it looks like to carry pain and move forward anyway. They let us grieve in color. And for players who have felt that weight in their own lives, it can be quietly life-changing. Limbo is quiet in a different way. It's eerie, lonely, dangerous. It's the kind of game that doesn't hold your hand. It lets you die. A lot, and in horrible ways. But through that trial and error, something builds, a sense of purpose. You're a little boy looking for your sister, we think. The game never tells you that, but you feel it in the way he moves, in the desperate pace of the puzzles, in the tension of every step. The world is all silhouettes and shadows, and yet the emotions are clear. That final moment where you see the girl, she looks up, there's a pause. It doesn't give you answers, but the weight of that stillness, it says more than any cutscene ever could. There's a trend in storytelling to wrap things up neatly, to explain everything, to give players closure. But sometimes the most powerful experiences are the ones that leave us hanging. Quiet games don't always offer explanations, and that ambiguity creates space for something personal. You bring your own meaning to it. It's kind of like a mirror. What you see depends on what you're holding, and in a way that makes the experience more intimate. The silence becomes a canvas, one that you paint with your own emotions. I think part of why I connect so deeply with quiet games is because they feel more personal. When a character doesn't speak, I project more of myself onto them. Their feelings become mine. There's no script telling me how to feel, just space, music, color, movement. And in that space, I can feel anything. Sometimes I play these games when I'm overwhelmed, when I need to cry, when I want to feel something but don't want to talk. They give me quiet, but they never feel empty. Quiet games with loud feelings are more than just a niche. They're a powerful reminder of what games can do. They show that stories don't need words to be meaningful, that you can say everything by saying nothing, that silence can be a form of trust, trusting the player to feel, to interpret, to care. And in a world that never stops talking, these games remind me to listen. If you've ever been moved by a game that had no dialogue, please let me know. I'd love to hear what stayed with you. And if you haven't tried one yet, maybe it's time to sit in the quiet for a while. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed this little look into quiet games with big feelings, one of my favorite types of games to play. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already for more videos just like this one. Have a wonderful day.